friends! Today we're here to bring you our August book haul, and I will preface this video by saying I'm extremely proud of myself because I didn't buy any of the books that are in my part of this book haul. I didn't, and I honestly started the month thinking maybe I'll get away with not buying a lot of books, and I didn't buy any books at all.
She's proud because she's trying to follow a budget. I'm
so lucky to have very generous friends and also to be able to work with so many amazing publishers, which is why I still have as many books as I do. But I'm extremely proud of myself. Of course, this is all like going to like go up in flames in September because there are so many books that I pre-ordered coming out.
So the pride kind of ends there. It's gonna turn to shame.
I can already think of like 6 off the top of my head that are on my pre-order list. So you guys will be seeing a lot more books that I bought in September, but for now, let me just bask in the glory of like having at least a month where I did not buy a single book. Moving on to the actual books now. Macky's gonna start us off.
She said she wouldn't buy books, but I totally did. We went to Book Off. So shout out to the folks at Book Off who keep like the craziest selection of books. Here's what we got. So the 5th season, which is a Hugo Award winner for 2016. So
it's also being turned into a TV show. So
right, yeah. And so very interested in reading what this is all about. Something about ages coming to an end and all of that stuff.
A friend of mine has actually read it and she really enjoys it. So
yeah, so definitely into that. And
you read it if he thinks it's good.
Right. And
oh gosh,
speaking of contemporary, I found a really good hardbound copy and audio copy, all for less than $20, of The Fault in Our Stars. So this one's a limited unabridged edition with John Green reading it. Although the first time I read this book was actually an audiobook, because why? And this is also a signed copy. So fun little Book Off haul. Probably one of the few contemporary romance books that actually, YA contemporary romance books that I actually really like.
So first in the sets of books I got are a bunch of like non-fic / interest-centered books. So the first is one we did a video for actually, and I'll link to it down below. And it's Two Kinds of People, a visual compatibility quiz by, I'm not even going to try to pronounce his name because I'm probably going to butcher it. And the concept of the book was fairly simple. It just shows you 2 different pictures on every spread, and you and whoever you're doing it with picks the picture, and you will track how many you have in common on this little chart, and then you will find out what kind of relationship you have. Macky and I are improbable allies, so
yeah, with a nice solid score of 45.
I know, right?
It's like 45%.
The next book is one that I got because first of all, it's gorgeous, and second of all, it's just fascinating, and I think Macky will also really enjoy it, and it's called Basic Witches: How to Summon Success, Banish Drama, and Raise Hell with Your Coven.
It's almost like Snape's little bottle fame and put a stop.
And this is by Jaya Saxena and Jess Zimmerman, and it's just, look how beautiful that is, first of all. I just think it's really fun to see what was in this book, all of this advice and tips and stuff like that.
It's got hex appeal.
So yeah, really glad to add this one to the collection. Thank you Quirk Books for sending it along. This one is fiction. It's actually a picture book.
Nightshift.
And it's called Nightshift by Debbie Gliori, and it's about a girl who learns how to fight the nightmares at night. And it's basically, actually, her nightmares are supposed to be symbolic of her depression. So I thought that was pretty cool. And the illustrations are pretty cute.
Oh, that's gorgeous.
And there's dragons in it, so can't go wrong with that. So yeah, you'll probably see one or the other of us talking about this one in the future. And then we have a really, really random book that I like got in the mail and I was like, huh? And it says, This Book Isn't Safe. It's by Colin Furzy, I want to say. Ever wondered how to make concrete shoes or how to build your own downhill trike? These are just some of the cool inventions in my amazing book that you can try at home.
So neither of us are artsy craftsy in any way, form, or fashion. So it's going to be we would either just never or should never do any of this at all, or give it a shot and see.
I also got a bunch of like fun goodies in the mail. We're gonna start with this one. I don't know if you guys will be able to see the writing on it. It's a pre-order fan I got for pre-ordering Forest of a Thousand Lanterns by Julie Dow, which is signed right there. And let me tell you, that book is amazing, so if you haven't pre-ordered it yet, pre-order it now. And then we got this little goodie bag from Disney Hyperion. And clearly it is for The Dreadful Tale of Prosper Redding by Alexandra Bracken. There's a tote bag, obviously, and there was also hot chocolate. They actually called it Nell's Witch's Brew, which I think is great.
I'll have some of that later.
I know, and then they had this little nut in it, which...
Story effect, perhaps, maybe?
Probably. And my favorite thing is that they sent a bunch of broom
Witch's
pens,
brooms.
which is like amazing. I think this is like the most
So
fun thing
cute.
ever. I may or may not have shrieked when I saw it. There's also this card. Ta-da! And I have this actually. There's also this magnet. So someone is going to win this because I already have one. Ta-da! And last but not least, a beautiful finished copy of The Dreadful Tale of Prosper Redding by Alexandra Bracken, which I've already read and really enjoyed if you guys saw my first August recap. Anyway, I just wanted to show you the end papers because pretty. Also, there's a cat on the back.
It's got wings.
Yeah, it's a great middle grade read. It's got a snarky demon in it, which is great.
Who doesn't love a snarky demon?
I know, right? And the sequel is coming out next year. But yeah, definitely get your hands on this one if you can.
Right, quick trip to the library and had to pay some homage to my dad's little shelf. Mine's your typical story of my dad and I are like the exact opposite, like ever people. But then into my adulthood I realized I'm turning into him. And to solidify... I am though. I am turning into...
Solidify the transformation.
Like I'm basically my father but with more hair. And a better command of the English language. But the point is...
To solidify,
to solidify the transformation, I rented out from the library Tom Clancy's Hunt for the Red October. Why, you asked? Because, you know, I'm branching out from my approachable assassin genre. By the way, Tom Clancy has his own assassin. Don't know if he's approachable.
We're gonna find out, apparently.
But word has it he put together Rainbow Six, so I'm looking forward to some of that, you know, action. He's not in here maybe, but I know Jack Ryan is. So that's gonna be, this is the book one of the Jack Ryan series. For those of you who watched Chris Pine's recent Jack Ryan stint, super cool. And inspired by some folks who did mention like that we should create like a middle grade noir, you know, video, which we totally want to do. I wanted to look for books that were kind of like junior detective type deals that were really not kind of, you know how Nancy Drew and the Hardy Boys, I mean they were real kids that just happened to do detective work as opposed to Howard Wallace PA. Howard Wallace PI. PA. North Dakota.
Are you turning him into a personal assistant?
I have no idea. Howard Wallace PA. Howard Wallace, as opposed to Howard Wallace PI, who really kind of just, you know, goes to the dentist and the dentist tells him to cut back, and you think and it looks like a cigarette conversation, but really it's juicy fruits. So
I mean, I love juicy
so in searching for middle grade, in searching for middle grade. In searching for middle grade detective stories, I got The Big Splash. Now from the title, it already feels like hard-boiled, big man kind of 1930s gumshoe.
Hard-boiled, I will never get over that genre.
I know, right? I mean, I know the blurb said middle grade noir, but you know that's how it is. That was Matt Stevens is tough as a steak from the high school cafeteria. He's a 7th grade private eye, and he did something that he's just never said he'd do. He accepted a job from Vincent, Mr. Biggs Biggio, the kid behind every shady deal made at Franklin Middle School. And I'm like, sold! So that's gonna be a fun read from the library.
Okay, so the next section of books I'm going to be showing you are contemporary or historical. The first one is The Way to London by Alex Rickloff, and I hadn't heard of this one before it got sent to me in the mail. It's about a girl named Lucy Stanhope who is living a life of leisure really in Singapore, and then when the war happened she ends up separated from her parents and she has to go and live with an aunt that she doesn't really know. She embarks on an adventure with a boy because she agrees to help this boy find his mother, and stuff happens. She encounters someone she knows from Singapore and a lot of other things happen. I am not sure what to make of this one. I'm always interested in World War stories, but they're also very hard for me to read because it makes me feel very like anxious about life. Because it's, you know, the situations are always usually sad and it's hard to read about the heartbreak, even with the hope that also coexisted with it. We'll see how I feel about this one if I ever get around to reading it. And then we have a book that I actually have already read. Let me show you the little thing first.
Oh, cute.
There is a keychain with a puzzle piece on it, and this is for Clicked by Tamara Ireland Stone, and this is a beautiful finished copy. I really love that they're all going for matte covers now because it's kind of like amazing.
I know, it's
and
like
look,
a
end
thing.
papers. Anyway, this is the story of a girl named Allie, and she has created this app at her summer coding camp, and the app is called Clicked, and it's basically like a scavenger hunt to find new friends. You enter your info, you take a test, and then you are paired with people based on your like compatibility levels. But she discovers that there's a glitch that could reveal highly sensitive information to other people, and so she has to figure out how to solve it before anyone gets hurt and before her game is presented at this really cool official thing called Games for Good. And it was a little difficult for me to get into at first because it's skewed towards the younger side of the middle grade spectrum, which is not a bad thing, obviously, because obviously that's the intended audience. But like, as someone who does read middle grade, mine tend to be the kind that skew towards the older side. So that was an interesting thing to try and get into. But once it clicked, it really just kept rolling forward, and I ended up really liking it. It was a very smart take on how technology has really become a part of the everyday for many of us, and how for younger people it might even just affect their relationships and the way they do things. So pretty good. You should definitely check it out. Then we have a book that's coming out in 2018. I got an ARC of it, and that is The Wedding Date by Jasmine Guillory, and this is the cover. I don't know if you guys can see that.
Pretty.
It sounds like a romantic comedy. That's basically all it sounds like. So let me read the back to you. It starts with, a whirlwind weekend starts out with Alexa Monroe, oh wait, I forgot the main character had my name, getting stuck in an elevator with Drew Nichols, and ends with them having the time of their lives at Drew's ex's wedding. Sadly, that's where it ends, since they live in opposite ends of California. Drew in Los Angeles and Alexa in Berkeley. But they can't stop thinking about each other, so these two professionals find themselves in a collision course towards the long-distance dating disaster of the century.
Oh wow.
I'm a sucker for like romantic comedy type books, so it's not surprising that I would have said yes when someone emailed me about this one. So I will be reading it and letting you guys know what I think. Oh, another book that I've actually read, Macky has the ARC of it, A Short History of the Girl Next Door by Jared
Yeah,
Dirk.
totally want this.
Has a beautiful, beautiful cover. It sounds like it should be a YA romance, but it's not. It's about a boy named Matt, and he has a crush on his best friend and neighbor, Tabby. And so he's agonizing over how to tell her this, especially when Tabby starts showing interest in a senior, a popular senior at their school. And yes, there is the romantic aspect of it, but it's also about more than that. It's about Matt's friendship with Tabby. It's about his relationship with his family. It's about his own dealing with the feelings he has about like how he is with his life and where he's going with it, and English class and basketball and all of that stuff. And I thought that was the interesting part of it because it was a love story, but it wasn't just a love story in a sense. So I actually quite found this one interesting. I'm curious to see what Macky will think of it. So next is More Than We Can Tell by Bridget Kemmerer, and I'm really excited because this is the sequel to Letters to the Lost. And it features Rev, who is one of the side characters in that book. I don't know anything about Rev's story. I didn't even care because all they had to tell me was it was Rev's story, and I was like, all right, I need to read it. And I really love this cover, so I'm very excited, and I've heard great things about it from some of my friends, so can't wait. This is a 2018 book as well, by the way.
Awesome.
And last but not least in this section is 1,000 Paper Birds by Tor Udall, and I really love this cover. It, as far as I remember, this follows 5 different people and how their lives are connected, and I'm a sucker for stories like that because I always think it's fascinating to see how you can be connected to someone you never thought you would be connected to. Also, this is just a pretty end paper book again. Can't wait. I will let you guys know what I think once I have read it.
There are some books that I'd like to chuck straight away to me.
Well, first of which I know you wouldn't be interested.
Right, first of which is a graphic novel called Head Games, by Craig McDonald and Kevin Singles. Right. So real quick, On the Road to Hell with a Trunk Full of Skulls. And I'm like, yeah, I'll read that.
Sounds totally. Very supernatural.
Set in 1957, and so a bunch of like kind of hijinks and crime. So totally looking forward to reading that. Then we have another book called House of Ash. The house won't stop until it's been fed. So I am the resident horror reader, and this looks like
slash paranormal.
Not necessarily paranormal romance, mind you.
It just so happens.
It just so happens. But after hearing voices among an eerie copse of trees in the woods, 17-year-old Curtis must confront his worst fear, that he has inherited his father's mental illness. And a desperate search for answers leads him to discover Gravenhurst, a labyrinth mansion that burned down in 1894. So it's one of those monster houses things, very, very traditional of the horror film genre, right?
There are
monster
mirrors
house
in that one.
So mirrors, monsters, and mysteries. This next one is called House of Furies. Super fun. So another, they come here to die.
I like how you think a House of Furies is super fun.
Well,
meanwhile, I'm just like, I would run away screaming.
They come here to die. That's what the blurb says. I'm totally into that, right? Alone and afraid, she has just fled a brutal English boarding school where punishment was the lesson of the day, which means an old woman who offers her employment as a maid in a boarding house. Louisa thinks she has been saved, and I'm like, yeah, I'll read that. Yeah, totally. Are you kidding? That's where I live, or at least as a child, that's where I used to.
So creepy.
Love horror movies.
All right, so the next section is science fiction and fantasy, although it's mostly fantasy. First is a book I've already read, The Last Magician by Lisa Maxwell, and this is time travel and magic, and it's set in New York. It is about a girl named Esta who is sent back into the past to steal an artifact that she needs in order to save magic as it is in present-day New York. And yeah, all of the hijinks and adventures that ensue. I will say that this is the kind of book where if you start reading it, you should keep on reading it because it's really hard to dive right back in if you've set it down for a while. That's why it took me so long to read, but it was so worth it because the payoff was so good. This is also signed, actually, because a friend got it signed for me. Ta-da! And I have a sticker and a bookmark as well. Next is Between the Blade and the Heart, and this is fantasy romance, which I think Macky just finds that funny. Anyway, so the tagline is, when the fate of the world is at stake, loyalties will be tested. It's by Amanda Hawking, and this is something I snagged thanks to my friend DJ. And let me just read the back, because I honestly don't know how to describe it. So, as one of Odin's Valkyries, Malin's greatest responsibility is to slay immortals and return them to the afterlife in Valhalla. But when she unearths a secret that could unravel the balance of all she knows, Malin must decide where her loyalties lie, and if helping the blue-eyed boy Asher enact his revenge is worth the risk to the world and her heart. Yeah, we're gonna see how I feel about that one. The next one is a sequel, and that is The Knowing by Sharon Cameron.
I got the
actually
arc.
Has the arc of this one. The Knowing is a sequel to The Forgetting. The Forgetting is a science fiction type story that I read last year, and I actually really enjoyed it, even though it took me a while to get into it. I think it was like 100 pages in when I was like finally getting hooked on it. I can't really tell you what this one is about, obviously, because it's after the events of The Forgetting. But I am looking forward to reading this one as well, and so is Macky, because I think he can now binge them. Then we have Odd and True by Kat Winters, and I honestly only picked this book up because Kat Winters. Meet Odette and Trudchen Gray. Odd has always claimed that her mother slayed monsters and that she and her sister are destined for the same adventures. True, who has struggled to walk ever since a childhood illness, suspects that her sister's fantastic stories are merely comforting lies. But even skeptical True believes there's a dark force approaching. In 1909, after vanishing 2 years earlier, Odd reappears in True's life with a suitcase full of weapons and a promise to rescue True from the monsters about to attack. Odd seems haunted, searching for something she can't talk about. True goes along with her sister in the hopes of finding their long-missing mother, but neither girl will find exactly what she's looking for. Bum, bum, bum. Okay, I'm a sucker for sister stories, so that's a big part of the reason why this one also appeals to me. So we shall see. It also kind of sounds a little bit like Supernatural, but that could just be me. Oh, I'm excited about this. So, I also read this book last year, I want to say, and it's called The Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden. And it is a story inspired by Russian folklore, which I really, really liked. And the entire story itself is very fairy tale-esque. Like, I went into it not knowing what was gonna happen in it, and I think that's the best way to go into it, so I'm not gonna really talk about it with you guys, but suffice to say, it was very atmospheric. It is a bit slower than a lot of other fantasy that I read, but in essence, that works because fairy tale vibes, so. Guess what I also have? The sequel in ARC form, The Girl in the Tower by Catherine Arden, and I'm really excited about this. This is a 2018 book, so I'm not gonna read it anytime soon, or I will try not to read it anytime soon because reading schedules.
And be brave and attempt.
I am super excited. I hope I enjoyed as much as I enjoyed the first one. A finished copy of All the Crooked Saints by Maggie Stiefvater. This is her upcoming novel. It is not out until October, if I remember right. I talked about this in a little bit in my BA video. It has 3 points of view in it, and it is set in a town where miracles are a thing that happen. That's all I remember about it, to be honest, but it's Maggie Stiefvater, so I'm willing to give it a shot. And then we have a sequel, which I'm probably gonna give away because I haven't read any of the series, and this is like the 4th book. This is 13th Rising, which is part of the Zodiac series by Romina Russell. Again, haven't read it. All I know about it is that there are 12 Zodiac houses, obviously, and that plays into the political atmosphere of this story. It's set in space too.
Really?
And the last book is Rise of the Jumbies by Tracy Baptiste. This is actually a sequel, which I did not know until someone told me on Instagram. But it has such a great cover. And I really want to read the first one because the same person told me that the first book was really great. Can't tell you what this is about because once I found out it was a sequel, I didn't want to look in.
Because of sheer fanaticism and because I love it so very much.
Sheer fanaticism.
Like, just I have not been
When
moved.
he gets enthusiastic like this, I always
buy
want to
every
read those
book
books.
in the series. I present to
you
you the Tapestry series,
which is about to fall over.
Which is about to fall over.
I shall grab two.
It starts with the Hound of Rowan, and then the Second Siege, and then the Fiend in the Forge. And I just last night I finished the Maelstrom. There's a fifth book called The Red Winter, but that only comes in Kindle format for some weird reason.
And he has that one too.
And I totally have that. I'm reading it right now. It is easily one of the most underrated, best sci-fi thing. I mean, it's as heavy as, like, if Game of Thrones were dialed down to a YA middle grade type deal, it would be just as heavy as that because. And the production value as well, because the insane amount of otherworld stuff that happens in here is kind of nuts. By the time that you get here, everything else that you've known in these two books are just like totally gone. The game has changed, and I don't know any series that actually does that. I highly recommend it to everybody. It's a really, really great series.
I have to read them.
I will expect what people will find maybe clunky about it, but there's a heart to these things, even the special characters, and at the core of it is Max McDaniels. But anyway, totally recommend these books.
Okay, birthday present time. So, in case you didn't know, August is my birthday month and I got a few presents. The first one wasn't actually a present, but my friend Kristen gave it to me, and it's a finished copy of The Upside of Unrequited by Becky Albertalli, which I still have not read. This came out in May or April, I don't remember. It is about a girl who has a lot of experience with unrequited love. And when her sister like brings home a new girlfriend, she kind of finds herself thrown into a scenario where she's starting to like question that. And I am really looking forward to reading this. I enjoyed Becky's book Simon versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda a lot when I read it, so I think I will enjoy this one as well. The real presents that Kristen gave me for my birthday are, first of all, Split Second by Casey West. This is the second book in the Pivot Point duology. I read Pivot Point in one night because it was that entertaining. It's like so much fun. The concept of the series is that the main character Addie is a searcher, which gives her the ability to, if she's presented with a choice that directly involves her, she can look at both pathways and see what the outcome will be. In the first book, the choice that she's faced with is whether to stay with her mom within their compound or leave with her dad and live in the normal world. And oh my god, it's just so good, guys. Like, I so enjoyed it, and I really do look forward to reading Split Second, although I'm slightly terrified because I have a ship that I'm partial to, and I'm just like, I don't know what's gonna happen.
It's the one thing that stops her from reading on.
I also need to get a finished copy of the first book, so I have both on my shelf. And Kristen also gave me the 4th volume of the Ultimate Collector's Edition of Fruits Basket. I have not yet read volume 3, which I have, but I can binge 3 and 4 now because I have this one, and I'm really enjoying this series. It's just, the concept of it is so Japanese. It's a girl and she's kind of like living on her own in a tent because I think her mom died, if I remember right. And she eventually stumbles into this family who have this weird uncanny ability that if you hug them, they will turn into animals of the zodiac sign, and it's so funny to me. I think it's like, it's the most ridiculous concept, but it's so effing entertaining. Half
the fun is figuring out which family member we haven't met by knowing which zodiac symbols we haven't seen.
And their personalities are very similar to their zodiac symbols, so it's just funny as hell. I haven't watched the anime. I know there is one.
I totally watched the anime. Not all of it, but
that's kind of hilarious to me that you watched it.
That's how I found it.
Yeah, I will probably watch it after I finish the books. Apparently they didn't animate the entire manga series, but it should be fun anyway. So thank you for my birthday presents, Kristen. This one is from my friend Kelly, and it is The Secret Life of Violet Grant by Beatrice Williams. And she sent this one to me because after she and Hannah, who is also a friend of mine, did an event on their blogs highlighting this author and her work, I basically just wanted to read all of the Beatrice Williams, and I was just being really good and refraining from buying all these books to add to my TBR. So now I have one and I'm really excited, so thank you, Kelly.
As I troll eBay every so often. I was so inspired by Alexa sort of starting to throw Mercedes Lackey's name around the house. She was reading Firebird, very excited about it because Mercedes Lackey does have a very large body of work.
Extensive.
Yeah, and a pretty good fan base too. And some of my friends are really good Mercedes Lackey's fans. In fact, I have actually read some Mercedes Lackey books, the ones that she partnered with Larry Dixon for, specifically the semi-prequel universe to her world. So I present to you, not just, there's more by the way, I found all of the Mercedes Lackey books in her one world for like 18 bucks on eBay. And I'm like, yeah, I'll take all of those mass market paperbacks. And so the first in the series is the Black Griffin series.
I like griffins.
Yeah, these ones are cool. Very, very awesome. Very Eartho, the Mage of Silence kind of deal. And it even gives you a little timeline of where it goes. And so we have prehistory, which is the Mage Wars. Hold this for us.
Actually, you know what? I will show them while he holds that. So first is the Black Griffin, right? And then the next is the White Griffin, and then the Silver Griffin, and then Magic's Pawn, which is this book, and then Magic's Promise right here.
Magic's Price.
Magic's Price, which is the next. The Oathbound, which is right here, which I really like the spine of. The Oathbound and the Oathbreaker. Oathblood.
Oathblood.
No, Oathbreaker's first, and then
Oathbreakers.
Yeah, Oathblood's not even on here. Continuing on, By the Sword, Winds of Fate, Winds of Change, Winds of Fury, A Storm Warning, yep, Storm Rising, and Storm Breaking. So we're just missing the Heralds of Voldemort trilogy. I haven't read any of these personally. The only book that I have read from her is Firebird, which I enjoyed to some extent, but I had issues with the main character, which prevented me from really loving it. So I will want to see if that changes with any of these other books.
I absolutely loved the prehistory series with the Black Griffin and Scandaran and Rashke is awesome. I've never wanted to be a griffin more in my entire life.
The last part of this haul is also part of my birthday present pile, and I just wanted to separate them because I feel so utterly spoiled by it. This was a gift from, these were gifts from my friend Hannah, because she and I are also both collectors, and she knows how much I love collecting editions of this book. She sent me one copy of The Little Princess. There's the cover.
With an extremely smiley Sarah Crew.
And there's another copy of The Little Princess.
This time with like a weird clandestine Sarah Crew.
And then there's like this one with like...
almost evocative of Shirley Temple's interpretation of Sarah Crew.
Yeah, and it's got like the plastic on it. And the best and most special part was this particular edition.
There you go.
It's the Folio Society edition of A Little Princess, which I have wanted forever and ever. It's no longer sold on Folio Society, so Hannah trolled eBay as well and found it for me, and it's beautiful in pristine condition, and I love it so much I could cry. But yes, Hannah gave me all of those editions, and I'm grateful for it. However, the very, very last book I'm going to show you is not part of my birthday pile, but it is also equally special. It is from the author of this book, because she is awesome, and it's the Brazilian edition of Incarnate. It's Almanova, and it's sparkly. I don't know if you guys can see that. Ooh, there's a bookmark in it. Haha. Anyway, if you guys don't know, Incarnate is one of my favorite YA books. I always talk about it because it's something I think a lot of people still need to read, and it's this great blend of fantasy and sci-fi, and it's just so good. Oh my gosh, I love the series so much. Even though Jodie has written more books since, she has a duology, and then she has a book coming out this month. This one will always hold a very special place in my heart. So yeah, I'm really excited about this too, so thanks, Jodie. Alright, those are basically all the books that we got in the month of August. I hope you guys found something new to add to your TBR. We would love to hear your thoughts on any of these books, whether you're excited for them, whether you've read them and want us to know what you think. That would be great. And as always, thank you so much for watching. We are aware that our videos are definitely longer than average, but it still astounds us how many of you are willing to sit through it and listen to us talk about books and be silly, because
you guys rock.
Anyway, we'll see you guys soon in another video. Bye!